We're starting to get interesting.
Yeah, gotta beware of that. when the tape's not running, don't be interesting.
Listeners everywhere, welcome to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, the weekly fix for your screen addiction and a trusted source for discussion of all things film and television. Please keep in mind that for the purposes of this podcast, Joel and Ryan are not acting as journalists, but rather fellow moving picture enthusiasts. All of their opinions should be taken as such. Also, please be warned that while Joel and Ryan may seem like petulant children, they are, in fact, adults who may occasionally use adult language. While they promise to bleep out all the worst words, it's a good bet you will still understand what they were saying. And now, with no further ado, here's Joel and Ryan.
The question that I have is, are they saying ooh or are they saying movie? I was saying movie.
Yeah, only Hans Moleman says movie.
Welcome, friends, to another episode of The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. I am Joel, and seated next to me as always,
is Ryan.
It's Ryan.
I like it better when you used to say, I'm Joel, and I could say, and I'm Ryan.
Yeah, no, that would work. Sometimes, you just when you try to be clever, you fail miserably.
I know something about that.
Yep, indeed.
We started our show today with an outtake from last week when we were doing our sound test. And then we didn't do a sound test this week, and I started the show with no sound. So you're getting us in rare form, the movie show with Joel and Ryan, listeners.
Thank you, listeners.
We're off to a great start.
Thank you so much for joining us for season 2, episode 11.
That's correct.
We are 11 episodes into this, our sophomore season.
Yeah.
And today I think I know we have a really fun show. It's going to be another interesting show for us. I feel like every time, like every other week, I'm saying, oh, we're going to try something different this week. But we're going to try something a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it's good to try new things.
It is good to try new things. Speaking of new things. No, that doesn't work, because I'm going to ask you what you've seen this week. Did you go out and see anything this week? Did you see anything new?
No,
I didn't either.
Same old stuff, I would watch the Jack Ryan movies this week.
Oh.
I'm on the third one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that means I'm up for the Ben Affleck one.
Have you checked out the Jack Ryan show on Amazon?
No, I don't do that. I don't have the Amazon. I live in a very small apartment building, and it's got a secure entrance and Amazon 2-day delivery. They don't cut it. They can't get in. They just call you all day, and they can't do anything. And they don't deliver anything, and then things go back. And then when Amazon can't deliver something, they send it by like FedEx or DHL. They can't get in. This is a disaster. So because of that, whatever that is, that $125 a year or whatever, it's a small price to pay when you can just buy anything and it's free and it comes fast.
Sure.
I'm like everybody else in America. I buy a lot of stuff from Amazon. I buy less than a lot of folks, but because of that, I have denied myself. This is a pretty lame story. This wins the award for the lamest start off to any show.
Oh,
we could be talking about the Tom Clancy movies instead. I'm like Amazon and the drivers are so dumb and but that's true. Were
they saying ooh or were they saying boo?
They're all like, oh, you can just put it in your car. You can put it in the little covey outside and the little bench seat with the door that opens. And I'm like, I'm poor and I live in this apartment and they can't get in here and the mail can. But they don't send stuff by the mail anymore.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. Although they put a lot of people to work. Mail carriers, that's a career. These people driving around delivering stuff for Amazon, no offense to them. That's that's hard work, hard, busy,
Yeah.
But they don't look like they're making a great living to me. I don't want to judge them too harshly, but
let's see. I have been watching the Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
I'm enjoying that. I'm on the final episode of the first season, so
I get the Netflix.
So I'm enjoying the Umbrella Academy. As someone who watches a lot of superhero films, you see where everything is going, but it's still an interesting path. It's still still interesting characters and stuff. So
I can say something more positive, but based on little review.
Please do.
Trying to get positive over here.
Yeah, let's get positive.
Miracle Workers. That's a great show. Everybody should be watching.
Oh
that.
yeah, okay. That's on Netflix.
No, that's on TBS.
TBS, right. That's what it is.
That's on TV.
On actual TV.
Well,
it's on cable.
But even your most basic cable has TBS.
Oh, that's
typically.
good. That's good to hear because I have that set up.
It's got Steve Buscemi plays God in it, and Daniel Radcliffe plays starting out anyways, the lone employee in the answered prayers department in heaven. It's like with sitcoms and me, and this my sitcoms I like that Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I like the Good Place.
Mm-hmm.
There's one other one I really like. It's not coming to my mind right now. It's too bad because it's awesome, whatever it is. But the point is, the ones I like are fun. They tend to be really funny, conceptually funny.
Yeah,
and very sweet, in a very kind of human, you root for everybody kind of way. This show is right in line with
that makes me very happy.
So that gets my highest sitcom recommendation that I can give at this time.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
Cool.
But like I said, so we're gonna have I hope an entertaining, exciting show. Today we are going to be discussing how we have evolved as consumers of movies, especially as it pertains to not going to see something in the theater.
Yeah, home movies.
Yeah, home movies.
Movies watched in
our homes,
amongst our persons.
And then as the evolution has gone on, outside of our homes, just not in a movie theater.
Right.
I think it's gonna be really exciting. Before we get to that, of course, I need to tell you all that if you have questions or comments, you should absolutely you please remember to go to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast, and please leave us a review. Tell us how much you like us. We want to just be liked, but it also helps get the word out there about our show. And so please subscribe, please leave a review. You can also reach out to us on Instagram and on Twitter at Ask Joel and Ryan. And on Facebook, The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. You could also go to our YouTube page where we have some highly curated playlists of the lists that we have talked about, including electronic music, best sword fights, and there's a third one in there. The uninterrupted take. Those playlists are available for your viewing pleasure, for your eyes as well as your ears.
Yes.
And you can also reach out to us at askjoelandryan@gmail.com. And as we always say here on The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, they're great. So this week,
all I'm saying, man, is that I used to order stuff on Amazon, and you just click the button, and then like 4 days later, it came into the mail, and it was yours then.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just gotten really complicated. And that's my final thought on that.
So Amazon, sorry, I'm going to beat this to death. So, post office. So Amazon will bring it, and usually they drop it off at your post office for your post office to deliver. That's you're saying that's not happening here.
No.
Okay.
It is
in my
not
neck of the
happening.
woods. Usually, it's somebody from my local post office comes and brings it to
That was, I mean,
to
for
my
the
house.
yeah, no, they've got their own drivers and stuff, and maybe that's more in the city now.
Sure.
I'm a lot closer to the city than you are. Or maybe I don't know. They've they got their own little sub warehouses and they've got their own drivers, and it's those people, and they work really hard to get it to you. There's just no way for them to get in here, and there's no bush in the middle of winter in Minnesota that I can just tell them to stick it in until I get home. It's complicated. If we had a front desk or we had a doorman or something, but it's just not that kind of place. And I look around my neighborhood and I see tons of places like this where that would be a challenge, and they haven't really thought that through with us. But whatever. I didn't mean to really get back into the details of it.
And
I just thought of a clever way to wrap up my feelings.
And I could have let it go. I should have let it go.
Yeah,
but I did not let it go.
That's why I love you. You're very inquisitive, and you ask me stuff, and then I get to answer it like I know everything. That's why this relationship works so great. There you go.
So let's jump right in. Let's jump right in to talk about.
We're hoping Amazon will sponsor us someday.
Well, they own everything else. If you want to own the movie show with Joel and Ryan,
so let's just,
Mr. Bezos, please give us a call.
Let's just be quiet here for a second, take a breath, and then we'll start again in case I have to edit this whole part of the show out.
So let's break into our main topic for this podcast, and that is how we consume movies.
Yeah.
And how we
have through the years.
Yeah, and how we have through the years. Now, obviously,
lives.
It was a huge deal. The invention of the movies and going to the movie theaters. It was a giant event. It was a huge part of American culture.
It may be less of an event now, but it's still a pretty big deal going out to the movie theater to see. Maybe the magic of the movie theater isn't the same as it maybe used to be, but the movies are still pretty magical, right?
Yeah, and
so that whole event is pretty awesome. There's no even a stay-at-home movie fan like myself. There's no substitute for theater full of people excited to see the latest big thing.
Sure.
That's a fun thing.
No, I agree. And how the home video market, obviously that changed how movies have to be shown. Movies when they went from black and white to color, then from color we had to explore Todd A.O. and CinemaScope
to compete with television.
Yeah, to compete with television.
They wanted to give you that big widescreen breathtakoscope style show.
Because you had to, the movies always had to do something to set themselves apart from how you could consume media.
And to their credit, they continue to innovate to this day.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
I'd leave 3D out of that, but other than that, the stuff we've seen, the theaters put together lately have been pretty awesome.
So let's jump right in. Let's jump right in and talk about home video.
Video. It's the only way to get what you want to watch when you want to watch it. Action, adventure, horror, comedy, drama, suspense, romance. Great entertainment. Always a great value.
Video, it's what you want to watch.
Remember the first time you watched like a video? I don't know, maybe it was in your house. For me, it was my friend was the first ones to have a VCR, and it was as big as an oven.
Yeah,
it was this huge thing.
Yeah,
and when you opened it, it was like ka-chunk, and then they put in this movie, and I think it was Barbarella.
Wow.
Yeah, and we watched Barbarella, which you're a kid. I really didn't get a whole. There's a whole layer of Barbarella that's really not too hidden under the surface that I just didn't understand. To me, I just took it at face value as sort of the weird, trippy space adventure that it was. But just, I don't know, the thought that they could do that was really, really exciting. And we watch movies on TV. We talked about Superman a few weeks ago, remember?
Right, yeah.
Staying up late on a Sunday night to watch the big movie of the week for the first time on TV. Probably, 3 or 4 years after it came out in the theater.
Yeah.
But there was, there were no commercials. There was something about it. Oh, you just have that on your shelf like a book.
Yeah.
We date ourselves, I guess, by saying that experience. There were videotapes, that predates us. But
Sure.
just the home theater experience really was sort of a late 70s, early 80s thing.
Yep. I remember watching. We were at some friends of my parents, and I believe we watched, and they so they had a VCR. I believe we watched The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Well, we both watched pretty racy first video.
Yes, we did.
I have to say.
And my parents, not huge early adopters of many things.
Neither, much to my dismay.
But my folks were like after that night. Boy, I can't remember. I want to say the Dolheimers, but I'm not entirely sure where we were. But it's that after that night, my folks immediately went out, dropped the several $100s for this giant thing to sit on top of our console television. And where if you wanted to watch something, you had to hook up the special thing in the back of your TV that had a little slider that went from TV to VCR, back to TV. And then and you put it on channel 3, and then you could record your basic channels on it. If you wanted to fast forward or rewind, you either had to get up or you had a cord. A corded remote.
Yeah, ours had a cord, but all it did was pause.
Oh, really?
It was a one button, and you could pause it, and you could unpause it.
Wow.
But that was actually handy if you were recording like a TV show. You could pause the recording and take the commercials out of it.
Sure. Yeah, we did. And
it wasn't super useful otherwise.
No. Well, I remember the fast forward and rewind buttons being next to useless. On our remote, but we were the first. To my memory, we were the first in the neighborhood to have a VCR, and so then all the other kids in our neighborhood, they would come over to our place and we would watch. I remember. So yeah, then we would go to our video rental place.
Yeah.
What was do you remember what was your first video rental? Where would you go to rent?
It was the same as yours. It was that I don't remember the name of it. That joint in Osseo.
Yeah, CNH. Well, I think it was CNH.
CNH video.
Yeah,
in downtown Osseo.
Right in downtown Osseo. Yep.
Yeah.
And
that was mine
with their
as well.
brown videotape cases.
That's right. I remember those brown cases,
like the hard eggshell cases.
Yep. Clamshell.
Thank you.
That's right.
And
eggshells are not very hard.
That would not have protected the
not adequately at all.
Yeah, and then we were how many times we rented First Blood and oh boy, The Dark Crystal. And
when we went to CNH, and I've said this before on the show, but in case you don't remember, we used to, we'd have to rent the VCR because we didn't have a VCR.
Yeah.
So if we were having like a sleepover or whatever, they would rent it for us for the weekend, and then they wouldn't have to entertain us in any way. But it was stuff from that era. We talked about Frisco Kid. Man, I don't know how many times I rented Frisco Kid. But it was the number one rental. I stampeded past all kinds of stuff. And I guess this says something about me because I just could watch that over and over again. I mean, I loved it, and I could watch it over and over again, and that's kind of what I still do.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be disciplined not to watch things over and over again now. I got to only watch them once a year. I got to wait till this time next year to watch Hunt for Red October again. Because otherwise, I watch like the TV edit of Caddyshack like literally every night for a summer.
Oh man, yeah.
But I loved it. It formed my appreciation of movies.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing. I love the way the music for the movie started during the Orion logo in Caddyshack.
Yep.
I love the way when the sprinkler started, it was like the rhythm part of the Kenny Loggins song. You know what I mean? I love the way the credits flew in on the beginning of that movie to me was bliss because there's all these, they're graphic ideas, but there's still all these creative ideas right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then, and then if you're a kid, I mean, that gopher starts dancing and forget about it.
It's the best.
It doesn't matter how much pot smoking and other weird junks in that film.
And the fact that
movie is about that little gopher puppet.
The giant plot line about whether this woman's pregnant and needs an abortion or not. Yeah, that was lost on me for years.
Well, they don't
give me a gopher that
they don't come right out and say it.
No, yeah.
I mean, they
are
saying
thing in that
it,
movie,
but I think people in those days didn't even talk about that stuff. They didn't come out and talk about it. You had to kind of talk around it, and everybody got nervous. And then she, has her period, and she's out dancing in the woods. That's weird, I know. But I watched that movie dozens of times, so I missed that. But I have the whole every sound, every bit of the opening sequence of that film.
Oh, sure,
just absolutely burned into my brain. And that's, to me, that's part of the joys of home video. And once we got our own machine and I was recording stuff, I was recording it off of television, which is probably for the best for Caddyshack and some other things, where, I don't know, it was like the 88 before I saw the actual, the non-edited for TV version of that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Because I didn't need it from the video store. I had it at home. And then I'm watching it going, what? Oh, my goodness.
Right.
This is different. It's not that different, but it's different in a couple of key ways.
Yeah, a couple of very key ways.
Yeah. But that's fun, too. You learned a little about that, too. Here's the actual movie.
Yeah.
This is the movie I have memorized, and here's the other movie. And both of them have different stuff in them.
Another place where my family happened to be early adopters, and we were really lucky, is in terms of cable television and home box office.
Yeah.
Obviously we weren't like day one, cable TV, HBO, but I mean, it was a couple years in. But once we got cable and HBO. Then you fired up the VCR and you were recording
without
movie after movie
commercials,
after movie,
unedited, cropped. And, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But for sure that went same with us. Once we got cable, then you could really tape stuff. Although it's funny, I think of the stuff we taped, and it's really the stuff from those 2 years when we first got Showtime. Like I had all of those movies on. They didn't play enough really old movies. They just kind of didn't do that. They were HBO and all that, at least especially the way I remember it, were like the new release shelf on the, they may play things from a few years back. They played, Beastmaster all the time. We talked about that. But they wanted to shuffle in rep these films that were the things that just came out at the time.
Yeah, and that
and to their credit, they made hits out of movies that nobody came to see in the theater.
Yep, the Saturday night event movie, that was their big premiere night.
Yeah,
I remember. I mean, I vividly remember the whole feature presentation, song and graphics that HBO, I remember when they slightly tweaked it and changed the mix on it. And my brother and I just going, I like the old way better.
Yeah, so, I did too.
So then, did your family have a camcorder? Did you have a camera at all to record home video, I guess?
No, not for ages.
Yeah.
They did get one, but by the time they got one, it took those little tapes, and it was
sure.
It was very late 80s, maybe even early 90s before they got a camcorder, which is weird because before that, I mean, in the 70s, we got reels and reels and reels of Super 8 home video.
Oh, wow.
So he was, documenting everything. But then when he stopped doing that, they didn't jump in. And to be fair, those early video cameras were made you look like a news person,
Yeah, they were giant. You had to carry essentially an entire VCR on a strap on your hip,
right?
In order to even
at least it had that little shoulder indent thing, so you could just rest it on your shoulder.
Well, there you go. That would be nice.
Well, some of them had that. But that's
my friend's
ones. That's a little off the beaten path.
But that, but that also meant that you could go out. You would buy the blank videotapes.
Yeah.
That's when you also learned that if you hook 2 VCRs up together,
right.
that you could essentially rip one movie, the movie that you rented, and rip that onto
until Macrovision came along, and then it made your other movie that you recorded look like salad.
Yep.
Looked like Thousand Island salad
but
dressing.
It took them a while for that to happen.
A little while.
So then we got taping of the tube. This is your. Tell me what this means. I've forgotten.
Taping off the tube. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Taping off television and taping stuff, and basically for as many blank videos as I could get my folks to buy, I would just fill them up with movies. SLP for me all the way.
Yep.
3 movies per disc
per tape. Yeah.
As many music videos as I could fit on the end before it ran out.
And then that commitment to it where you pop the tab out.
Yep.
Saying nothing's recording on this.
But you could always just put a piece of tape over that.
That's initially what I thought you meant by taping the tube.
Taping.
And
I meant to say tape off the tube, and I said tape of the tube, which is weird.
Taping of the. That's why I thought you meant putting a tape over the do not record. Anyway, that's a little production meeting right there that we had.
Well, it was really fun. It was really fun to watch movies at home. That changed me. I really liked doing that. I liked going to the theater. But we go to the theater, 3-4 times a year tops, or we just get sent, down to the local, kids club church event to watch Disney movies.
Yep.
You kind of sat on the floor in the fellowship hall or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I watched a lot of movies that way. But that's even then, even like school assemblies, that wasn't quite this. It was great. It was better than school.
Sure.
But it wasn't quite the same.
That's how I first saw Disney's Robin Hood, which was a favorite of mine. It was actually on the gym wall.
My favorites, we have to talk about stuff that we watched at school.
Yeah,
were the
top 5.
Were those two that the 2 brothers who wrote for Disney all those songs. What are those guys' names?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know.
Well,
exactly
they wrote.
What you're talking about.
Yeah, they're very cool. They wrote a bunch of great songs, like all the Mary Poppins songs.
Yep.
That's them. They produced and wrote 2 musicals, one based on The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and the other one based on Huckleberry Finn. And we watched those in school all the time, which I think is kind of neat.
Wow.
They're pretty they have the harsher bits of Huckleberry Finn sort of toned down, but the basics of the story are there still. And the songs aren't even that great, and they kind of are cheesy in it, but I don't know. Those were fun.
Yeah. So
I own those on Blu-ray now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're super widescreen movies. I had no idea what they were.
Wow.
They were meant to be. They were produced by Reader's Digest, and they were meant to be big event movies at the time. And the first one kind of was.
Wow.
And one of John Williams' early jobs was adapting their songs to be the score in between and to orchestrate them. He was fresh off of winning the Oscar for doing that for Fiddler on the Roof. That we don't associate him with Fiddler on the Roof, but he orchestrated it. So anyway, that's a little bit of a sidetrack. But since we're taking a trip down memory lane,
I did not know that little nugget.
Yeah.
So videotapes. We lived in
Tom
the
Sawyer's played by
world.
the dude who played Sigmund the Sea Monster.
Really? Did he wear the Sigmund the Sea Monster outfit?
No,
as
but
Tom Sawyer?
he's got the little white boy fro, and I mean it's just
that guy.
He
I
looks
thought you meant Sigmund the Sea Monster played Tom Sawyer.
No, the kid in it.
The Sid and Marty Krofft puppet as Tom Sawyer. I'd watch
weird.
that every day.
Well, Jodie Foster's in it. She plays
Really?
Becky Thatcher.
Does she really? Goodness
So
gracious.
they're not. These aren't. They're not totally obscure. They were big movies at the time, but no.
And
to bring it full circle, I own them now. I have them forever.
I always just assume that you own it.
Well,
When I ask
if
you,
I've spoken about it, I must own it.
Yeah, and if I bring it up and it really is a legit surprise to me if you're like, I don't have that. I'm like, oh wow,
I don't have any of the nonsense movies.
That and you should feel okay about that.
I don't have any of the. What's the one where they go to Vegas because he's about to get married?
Hangover.
Yeah, I don't have any of the Hangover movies.
Well, maybe you'll want to go back and get some after
just
we
saying,
talk
there's
about home video.
There's some fairly famous things I don't have. That's all I'm saying.
So we lived in the world of videotapes for many, many years.
Yes. We made our own, and then suddenly they were selling them for $20 a pop.
Yeah.
And they looked better than the ones you made by yourself. And they had a cool, awesome picture of Gina Davis on the cover, so they were worth having. You know, they looked nice on your shelf. Mm-hmm. They were like I started to make my own video store. Then I went to work at the video store and I bought used ones with my employee discount.
Yeah, and
I brought those home. And I don't know, when we went to college, I had a pile of movies that
when we went to college, if you needed to watch something, you could just go to essentially Ryan's video store.
Yep.
And say, Ryan, do you have this movie? And then you'd get that movie, and usually Ryan would send you home with about 2 or 3 other movies because he says, well, if you're going to watch that, you're going to want to watch this other movie that's better than that.
Yeah, maybe.
At least that's what you did with me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of times it was. You don't want to. Actually,
I was very bossy.
Yeah, well, I would come and I would ask, oh, do you have this movie? I want to watch this. Can I borrow this movie? And you'd go, you don't want to watch that.
No.
If you're gonna want to watch that, you're gonna want to watch this one instead.
And
this
was
is
right.
better. And you're almost always right.
Well.
But so we lived. Okay, so we lived in this world of VHS tapes,
yes.
and it dominated. And it became. It became part of culture. I mean, having VHS tapes, owning VHS tapes, being able to pop something in at a party and watching, having a release of a new video. I remember the Halloween Blizzard of 1991. At the very early stages of that blizzard, I needed to get to Suncoast Video at the Ridgedale Mall to pick up my advanced copy of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, because it was an event. It became a big deal to get these, movies.
And Robin Hood,
summer.
Prince of Thieves was one of those magical films that they. Because back in the old days, I don't know how interesting this is to you guys, but they used to, movies used to cost about $100 a pop. The video stores would pay $69 or whatever, and suggested retail was like $99. Nobody was buying videos at first. They were artificially jacked up in price because the video stores had to have them.
Right.
And then something strange happened. The movie people realized that if they sold it for a reasonable amount of money, the tapes didn't cost very much. People would buy them. People started buying them. Robin Hood was, even in '91, came out in that era where a lot of movies were still about $70 for about however many months, right? And then they would come down in price. And then eventually you could buy them, but you had to wait, or you had to buy them used at the video store.
Yeah, the idea was
Robin Hood came out, it was $20 right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah, and that was unusual at the time.
And that was one of those ones that did it, and so that was like, I gotta have
Second biggest movie in '91. The biggest was Terminator 2, and you had to wait till the spring to buy that one for $20.
Wow. But of course, as anyone who owned VHS tapes knows, that the more you watched them, the more the tape started to degrade a little bit.
Yeah.
And, the quality would become a little bit less and less each time you watched it.
Especially those of us time to time.
Yeah. But especially those of us who SLP'd some of these, recordings, and then, where we
didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't, I think it explained it on the box, but I didn't think about it. Oh, I want the quality to be better. It's a lot better if you go with the SP.
Yeah.
One movie per tape.
One movie per tape.
Looks a lot better.
But you cram 3 movies on there if you can.
Yeah. More movies the better.
Yeah. And then, so then they would get a little grainy and the colors weren't as crisp, and so then technology, of course, gets to a point where they say, let's introduce let's take everything that people love about movies and love about records and combine the two into laser discs.
Laser discs. And of course the poor laser disc didn't last very long. That was purely a collector's medium. But Laserdisc did a couple things that were really, really important. Because Laserdiscs were adopted primarily by cinephiles, the films were released on Laserdisc in their proper aspect ratio. And when widescreen movies started coming out and you started seeing these movies in the shape that they were shown in the theaters, a lot of people were just waiting for the black bars to go away or complaining about them. But if you really understood what you were seeing, if you took the time to figure out why that was, to see things. I remember watching. I had one of the very first videotapes I owned was Willow.
Yeah.
And again, I had waited and waited and waited. I was on a waiting list at my video store to get the first copy that they sold of that. And Willow is very cool. At the end of the movie, it zooms out and those black bars come in, and it's to fit the end credits in the movie is pretty common.
Sure, yeah.
But it was beautiful. The image of the movie was really beautiful. Granted, it's a very pretty, picturesque closing, like matte shot. But when I realized that all of Willow looked like that and was that shape, and that if I could have been watching it in that shape, it would be visually way more interesting. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to we all know widescreen is now. Most people pretty much accept it for what it is, no complain too much, so I don't want to get preachy about it. But I'll just say, in the historical context, if you really love film, or you did and you didn't know why, it was very convenient that around that time, early 90s, something came out, these started to come out in widescreen, and I started, right around the time I was starting to understand the visual, just visual storytelling, I stopped taking it for granted and start appreciating it. And it coincided with that invention, which was so incredibly useful. And I used to argue, you'd argue with kind of charlatans and Walmart shoppers about their full screen videos, and I always just beg them not to buy them that way, know. And I was like, you wouldn't like if you bought the Mona Lisa at an auction or whatever, you wouldn't cut the top and bottom off to fit a frame that you already had at home.
Right.
That's what you're doing with all these movies. All of them, to one degree or another. Some of them, you're cutting off half of it.
Right. How many times did you... I mean, and trying to explain that to someone, that
it's hard.
You're getting more movie, but because it's not filling up their entire screen, they think, I can't...
They think those bars are blocking
oh my
something.
God, I'm missing half my movie. You worked at a video store. How many times did people... how many times did you have to explain to people you're actually... You're getting you're getting what was seen in the theater.
It was tough.
It's a different what's called aspect ratio.
Yeah.
But I can't even imagine the frustration of having to try to explain that time after time.
Well, you really only had to explain at the video store. You only had to explain it to people who were complaining. But the point I want to drive home isn't so much, widescreen versus full screen. I mean, that battle's been won and more or less lost, although your television channels and stuff, Netflix, God bless them, they do not do this. Even their own original programming have different aspect ratios that they honor. Mm-hmm. That's really helpful, because if streaming decided to crop all that stuff...
Yeah.
Because even if you watch a movie on HBO, they don't play it. They don't play it in the proper aspect ratio. Some of them are about the size of our modern TVs now, but some of them still need a little help, and they don't do it, and that's weak. And I hate that. Yep. So in a way, it's very odd that the invention of the widescreen TV, which we haven't come upon quite yet, but in a way that it was a step back for proper aspect ratio, like exhibition, which I sort of lament. But
right.
You pick the battles you can. I buy movies and always have. And once widescreen movies started coming out, I wouldn't buy them if I couldn't get it that way. Because I owned the third highest grossing movie in 1991, Backdraft, on video for 2 years and watched it 5 times, and then I watched the widescreen version that Suncoast had, and I was just like, it's unbelievable. This movie, it's just Backdraft. It's not, it's not high art. I'm not trying to claim that it is. But seeing the way it was intended to be seen, it's really important. And on those days, it was on my tiny TV, but it didn't matter. it felt bigger. It felt more expansive, even though it was half the size.
So where Laserdiscs failed because of their awkward size,
but Laserdisc truly failed. They were huge, but they truly failed because because the compression at the time wasn't very good, and to get them in high enough quality, they had to have multiple discs with different programs on either side, and you had to get up and turn them over.
Yep.
I mean, that's
to
no way to watch a movie.
You'd have to interrupt your movie it was like watching Gone with the Wind in the old theaters, where you would have to have intermission.
Gotta flip the platter.
But so where Laserdiscs failed, DVDs, the digital video disc.
Oh my God, dude. Have you seen these DVDs?
They're like CDs.
They're the same size as CDs. Except they have a movie on them.
I know.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And DVDs, for a while, were, again, pretty much widescreen exclusive.
Yeah.
The studios were releasing the way the artists had put stuff. Eventually, because DVDs really made Hollywood a lot of money, suddenly people were buying everything. Everything.
Yeah.
They were super affordable. They were much smaller than tapes. Everything looked better. It was easy. It was huge, and that was a huge boom that we'll never see the likes of again. DVDs are still with us, so it's not totally a dead thing, but it's not the same as it was then. That was their big, big deal. And when they found a way, after DVDs, when Blu-rays came out, which are basically just DVDs,
Yeah, with higher...
exactly. But capable of much, much better resolution, tons better. I was resistant to that. I'm like, they're just getting really good at doing this on DVD. I don't want to. I looked at my shelves. I'm like, I don't want to buy all these again.
Yeah.
So I had to go through that. But then I popped in my first Blu-ray and my first Blu-ray player that I brought home, and the Blu-ray I got was for $9.99. Which is the only reason I bought it.
Yeah.
It was just cheap, and, I'll try this. Yeah. I'm not going to pay $30 for one right now. And it was Cutthroat Island.
Yeah.
It was not even like a Blu-ray era Blu-ray. It was an older movie, And I popped that thing in, and it took my breath away. It's way better. And then you start buying your favorite movies, Blade Runner and stuff, and it's just there's no comparison. So now I got a shelf full of Blu-rays.
Yep. So, but before we get to Blu-ray, we have these DVDs.
Yeah.
And then because you're able to store so much more information on this.
Oh yeah,
this
I skipped
DVD.
a really important innovation of DVDs.
You're able to store not just the movie.
Right.
Suddenly you could say, hey, you're not getting just the movie. You're going to get deleted scenes. You're going to get interviews.
What about the original theatrical trailer?
You better believe you're going to get the theatrical trailer and the TV trailers.
Nice.
And if you are so inclined, you can click on to a second audio track.
Like in Spanish?
Yes. You can watch it in Spanish.
Sweet.
And you probably could watch it en français.
Awesome.
But also, there is an audio track with the stars of the film talking about how cool it was to make the film.
No way.
You feel like they're sitting right there on your couch with you, talking to you, their good friend Ryan, saying, Ryan, let me tell you this story about how cool it was on this day, or how difficult this scene was to shoot. And Ryan, I wish you should have been there, Ryan. You wouldn't believe.
They never used my name like that.
They didn't?
No. At least Dustin Hoffman and Samuel L. Jackson on the Sphere audio commentary did not use my name like that.
So the idea of getting all this extra content, it was added value.
Well, it turns out when they made Blu-rays, they tried to expand on all of those ideas and stuff and make that the real selling point of them.
Yeah,
because they could do all this extra stuff with them that even just the extra video content and audio content couldn't. And then nobody cared, and then they did studies and they realized almost nobody cares about any of that stuff. And I was shocked to find this out.
Yeah, that does surprise me too.
They didn't care. People didn't watch those documentaries, and they didn't watch the theatrical trailer, and they didn't listen to the audio commentary like I did. Obviously, as a big movie fan who loves movies, I gobbled that stuff up. And it's film school, really. Those audio some of the documentary work is really fantastic. Some of it's just cheap promotional junk, and then you get everything in between.
Yep.
And that's great. The story of the movie's always been part of the appeal to me, reading about it, listening to people talk about it, whatever. But those audio commentaries where it was, where maybe it wasn't Dustin Hoffman and Samuel L. Jackson, but it was the filmmaker sitting there telling you why he did stuff
Jonathan
he did.
Demme in The Silence of the Lambs. Commentary. Yeah.
You bet. That's a great one because he covers everything, right? He's not a super technical filmmaker, and yet he still talks about that stuff. But he talks primarily about the storytelling. I love that stuff.
Me too.
I love the special features, so I'm glad you didn't let me gloss over that.
No, I gobbled that up.
But they do it a little bit these days, but they don't do much because they realize the more work they put into it, that people didn't care.
Yeah. There was so then you would get like I vividly remember the Spinal Tap when Spinal Tap finally came out on DVD.
Yeah.
They did an audio commentary with the guys as the characters in Spinal Tap,
talking about it like it was a real documentary. And it's you can argue with me on this, but it's every bit as funny as Spinal
spectacular.
Tap. It's like getting to watch Spinal Tap for the first time new. I can tell anyone out there who's like a fan of that film, you have to listen. That's the one commentary you have to listen to.
Yeah.
Because they do it in character, and it is truly hilarious. It's as funny as the movie, I swear it is.
And absolutely, it's as funny as the movie. There are a couple of others I want to quick mention that are personal favorites. Yeah. The Dr. Horrible sing-along blog.
That's fun. Where they sing one.
There's
it's
like
a musical 3 on there, isn't there?
It's a musical, and then the audio commentary is a whole other musical.
That's right.
About making this musical.
Pretty neat.
And also the Mr. Show DVDs have great audio commentary.
Really?
Yeah, because they just break out. They'll.
I have those, but I've never listened to those.
They'll play. They go into like. Bob Odenkirk plays their acting teacher. So they're in the room, but then they'll have somebody will come in as a character and do the audio commentary as a character. So they're interviewing, like David Cross is interviewing their acting teacher.
They're doing sketches.
They're doing sketches within the commentaries, and
I'm sold.
It's really funny.
Yeah, as far as gag commentaries go, the other one I would mention is Blood Simple by the Coen brothers. Their first movie has it's an actor. I don't know who the actor is. Not somebody super famous. Somebody they knew. He does a commentary as a critic that slowly reveals itself to be a ridiculous gag. Very slowly. It's a little dry.
Yeah, it's a little dry, but
I found it extremely hilarious.
If you're a Coen fan, it's probably great.
Yeah,
Coen Brothers fan. Okay, so we have we have these great digital video discs. It's a great way to watch movies, high quality, extra content, and but you still have to go out to the store and get them and buy them.
And they take up a lot of room.
They take up a room.
They're collecting everywhere.
Yeah,
have you noticed?
And then
all my episodes of 24, the show, all 7 seasons. On DVD, take up a lot of space.
So if only there were a way I could get this DVD.
These 24 DVD box sets are torture.
Yeah, can I get like one disc at a time sent to me in the mail? I'll watch it and then I'll mail it back, and you can mail me.
You can't send discs in the mail. Dude.
I know, but
they'll break.
You? No, not if you put it in a flimsy paper envelope.
What an audacious idea that was at the time. Your video store is on your computer and the stuff just comes to you in the mail. And as long as you have a little patience, you don't have to deal with other people. And I have to say, I worked in video stores, and for a while I loved them because it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
They became really cruel, awful places to have to spend any amount of time. Going to the Blockbuster and sort of the people that were around, and something changed in there. I'm not sure what. I guess just that everybody was doing it.
Right.
And so everybody was fighting over the only few copies that they had of the Legally Blonde. And if they couldn't get it, they were in a bad mood, and you had to wander around and look for your next choice. I mean, that I admit that's not fun at all. And of course, Blockbuster at the height of the video era, where they wanted to start editing stuff for families. You remember that?
Yeah. You could not get. It was Showgirls was the big one that started it.
You couldn't just buy MC-17
There was the
Showgirls.
there was the Blockbuster version of Showgirls. It wasn't. I don't even think it. Yeah, it was. Not even sure it was the R version. I think it was like it's Blockbuster's own version, own edit of Showgirls, because they wouldn't carry it otherwise. It was like Blockbuster and Walmart wouldn't carry.
Well, then don't carry it.
Yeah.
Blockbuster.
And so
Blockbuster got a monopoly, and then they turned evil, like every monopoly always does.
Tale as old as time.
It is, and now they're just like our videotapes. They're just
eventually, I like to think, because we have a monopoly on two guys sitting on a couch talking about movies.
Yeah.
Eventually, we will become evil.
Oh, yeah. I'm already halfway evil now. Let's face it.
But that's what happens with monopolies.
It happens.
So, Netflix completely changes things. You're able to get these movies sent directly to you.
Yep.
You can watch them as much as you like.
You can let them sit on your shelf for 7 weeks, and nobody comes knocking on your door.
Nobody minds.
Nobody calls you. Nobody. You don't pay any late fees.
Mm-hmm. I think occasionally
put
you get
video stores basically out of business. And it was still disc-based media.
And then so,
but I could watch all kinds of things that I never would just buy that I hadn't seen. Suddenly, you could just get really experimental. That was Netflix's effect on me. I'll try it. I'll start watching Werner Herzog movies. I'll start, stuff that where like if I'm going to sit down for 2 hours in the past, I probably wouldn't do, and stuff that if I popped it in and hated it, I pop it out in 10 seconds. In 2 days, just watch something else.
Yeah. And it absolutely that was another pivotal moment where you could suddenly that's a great way to put it, because it was it's like I can watch this. God, I don't want to really own this movie, but I would like to see it
or buy it, or where am I going to rent it? It's weird and obscure.
Yeah, it's weird and obscure.
They had every movie.
Yeah,
I mean they had every movie.
Yep.
It was amazing, and suddenly you could get, whatever your movies. Video stores didn't have every movie; they couldn't possibly.
No, and because it was a giant thing, even if there was a waiting list, even if a video or even if a title, I should say, wasn't available right away,
and they're recommending stuff to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, taking advantage of the internet and creating algorithms to say, just like.
And the master stroke was because you had to go online to manage your queue. You're already there, and what if they started playing movies right there?
I know,
like just a few at first. But you could just watch the movie right there.
Yeah, real quick though. We want a quick touch on some of the things that DVDs. So DVDs that they were doing great and everything was great, but that didn't stop them from improving.
Oh yeah,
because then they realized, okay, our picture looks great. So our eyes are seeing great things. Let's do what we can now to make it sound great.
Well, that was a big part of DVD. People started buying these little surround sound systems and stuff.
Yep.
And those are all going away, too. You guys don't have one. You're going to get it like a
we will.
sound bar?
Yeah, we will at some point.
It's all sound bars now.
It's all sound bars.
You're surrounded by like thousands of dollars worth of speakers in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just hanging on, man. I'm hanging on to 5.1. I know people with 7.1 and Atmos systems.
Sure, yeah, and it's an investment. It's an investment.
Well, but it's become it's funny that for a while that was a big deal. When you first heard a movie in your own home, helicopters flying around you and stuff, and that was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And you wanted to have that. And there was for a while there, it was easy and it was affordable to do it.
That first time you placed the speaker behind you, and you heard a helicopter or heard something sweep around behind you, it was like, damn.
That was a big deal. Surround sound in your home. Again, your home theater. Your home really is becoming a theater at that point.
And then
you're watching the movies kind of in the proper way they're supposed to be seen. Suddenly the sound is almost better than your dollar theater down the street. In a lot of cases, it's cleaner. You can control it better, and it sounds awesome.
Yep.
Then suddenly you're buying a digital TV, and the TVs are getting bigger and easier and lighter.
Yep.
It's a home theater now.
Yeah, and the TVs themselves are becoming widescreen. We touched on this earlier.
Right.
So the TVs are reflecting a cinema effect.
Right.
And
much more theater-like viewing angle if you're relatively close to it, but not right up in front of it.
And architects and builders, home builders, are recognizing the importance of
the communal aspect of the television and the home viewing experience.
And not just having a living room or a family room with a TV sort of in the central as the central focal point where you can sit and watch TVs, but actually sort of recreating the cinematic experience in a smaller scale in your home.
Yeah.
Creating tiered seating, really comfy chairs. We're now seeing the home video, those home video cinema aspects being reflected back now in the movie theaters with the reclining chairs. And et cetera.
They had that was very much a response to theater. You didn't sit there and be uncomfortable because that's part of what they were selling the home experience.
Yeah, better food, drinks, But so like Ryan mentioned earlier,
those reclining chairs, boy, that made a difference.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
So you're going onto your queue onto Netflix. You've gone on and you're like, okay, maybe I'll have these. What is this? What is this video window here? Wait,
watch this now.
Watch this now. What?
I thought I had to wait till it came in the mail.
But all of a sudden, as the internet speeds became faster,
and
as they were able to put more data into your internet signal, the internet stream, you were able to watch the video right there on your computer screen. You're able to stream it.
That's right.
So parts of it are coming as you're watching it. More of it is loading. And you're able to just stream it right there on your computer, which leads to being able to stream it and watch it on your television.
Then your phones get smarter, and you put your Netflix app on it. Then your new TV suddenly has a bunch of apps like it's a big phone.
Yep.
And look, it has Netflix too.
And
what do I even need cable for?
Yep. And then you can have the Netflix, and people wise up and go, hey, look at the success that Netflix has. Maybe we here at Amazon should create a way to watch videos on demand. Maybe we here at Hulu, this company that we're going to create to compete and have deals with television companies.
That's right.
And
then suddenly a movie studio says, hey, look, we're licensing all this stuff and making money. It's great, but what if we just started our own and kept all our own stuff and made all our own money from the subscriptions directly?
Yep.
So now we have a different CBS station. Like you already had one, but now there's another one.
Now there's a CBS.
It's a streaming one.
Yeah, all access where they're able to create more and more content.
And I guess this is the part of our little walk down memory lane, since we're just about to the present day where maybe I will get a little preachy. But it's awesome, I believe they call it the golden age of television. I believe when Game of Thrones goes out there in a couple months, the golden age of television will truly be over. I just don't think. I think TV there for a while. Mad Men and The Sopranos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you first broke into sort of specialized programming, and you were really able to take risks as storytellers. With television shows, we experienced that, and it was awesome. And that sort of came with collecting these shows and stuff. It all was part of the same experience. I think now there's so many formats. There's so many different places to get content. There's so much content, and the content has now gotten so specific and narrow. You know what I mean? That. I think we moved out of it because I just think there's so much of it. There's just been a dilution of it, basically.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's gotten bad. There's as many good things on TV now as there ever has been, and these films that otherwise wouldn't get any love are finding their. Home video brought those movies that barely were seen sort of into people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing that they did that was great. But the streaming content are really, really great with that. We talked about several of them this year.
Yeah.
So, but I gotta say, I worry. Now you've got Disney. They're not sharing Disney movies with
Disney's
anybody.
going to create their own streaming. Yeah. So we're going to.
You're getting. They're getting very exclusive, and they're getting very sort of ownery about their own things. And suddenly you're going to be subscribing to tons of things to get everything. I mean, I resist Amazon for rather silly, actually physical delivery reasons, because there's no reason to resist it. It's a pretty good deal with all the content they have, not just their own, but others on Prime Video. But it's... Everybody's going to have their own little service that you're going to have to pay for. It really did start with CBS. I blame them. They frustrate me a lot. I don't know what they're thinking. I know what they're thinking, which is that we'll make more money, which they are. Mm-hmm. But, you already have a channel. Put your best stuff on that channel.
Right.
What do we got to pay extra for the extra stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is the Star Trek show not on television? It's one thing because it can't find its audience, or because, this service, whatever. Hulu, they just licensing things and creating their own things. I kind of look the other way there. CBS is frustrating. You already have a network. It's already on television. I already pay for cable. Why do I got to pay more again? And why do I got to pay again? And you're going to find this going forward. I think the idea of buying movies digitally has not taken off at all. I think everybody just stream.
Yep.
Why buy anything? I don't need to have access to this.
Right.
Which is good, because buying the rights to watch something on the internet isn't buying or owning anything at all.
Right.
So, but I think the danger of that, we sort of slipped right by it, right into just beam the thing in here.
Yeah.
And when I want to do it again, I'll just search for it and hit play again. No problem.
Right.
I love the privileges of ownership in a lot of ways, because everything I want is kind of here. It's a huge collection, but I managed to keep it sort of compartmentalized and not totally out of hand. I remember when Alan Rickman died, all my artsy friends, their favorite Alan Rickman movie is Truly, Madly, Deeply, which is a great movie. Anthony, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but is his movie. The cat who made Cold Mountain and Talented Mr. Ripley. He's a pretty good filmmaker. And they couldn't get it anywhere. No services had it. They didn't know Alan Rickman was going to die, or they would have, believe me. But nobody had it. And even if you decided you wanted to bite it and own it, the DVD of that movie is what, $78 now to buy used. And that film, it's just an example of a point in time where people really wanted something that they couldn't get. But the reality is you don't always know what you want, and there's tons of stuff that you can't get.
Right.
I kind of live in fear of not having access to my favorite things, and to me, buying a disc is still kind of cost about the same as going out to the theater, so I just buy it, and I stopped going to the theater.
Yep.
That's how much I love home theater.
Anthony Minghella.
Thank you. I had that on the tip of my tongue, but I think I was going to say it wrong. So thanks for looking up Anthony's name.
Yeah.
He's not with us anymore either. So
Nope.
Truly Madly Deeply is awesome.
Yes,
You can't
so
really
good.
watch it on Hulu.
Yep. No, you're right. That's so for someone like me,
not having a giant library in your house makes sense. People truly have moved on from that, but there are kind of consequences for you subscribing to a platform. You don't choose carefully the things you watch. You sort of watch the next thing.
Yep.
When people who channel surf, for lack of a better term, since it's not the appropriate term anymore, but kind of channel surf through Netflix, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And you just kind of stumble upon the next thing, or you just let Netflix play whatever it is that's next.
Yeah. Oh, you're recommending that because I just like this thing? No, sure, that's fine. I'll watch it. Yeah.
Pop. And I don't think that's tragic necessarily, but it I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a time when you were going to the movies, like there was a time when critics were important, not because ripping on movies is important, but because advising audiences, or even beyond that, just providing clarity to the content out there so that you could better pick the thing you would like.
Yeah.
A good reviewer doesn't necessarily agree with you on everything. They write in a way that provides clarity for you to make a decent decision, or to expand your idea of what you just watched if you read the review afterwards.
Yeah.
All of that's getting lost. We're in a world of one star, this sucked, just because they were bored with it for a little bit. Yeah. 10 stars, it was awesome. What's the matter with you? You're going to champion it no matter what, even if it's...
Yeah.
Not many things are worth your 10 stars.
I didn't like what this person said in an interview that one time, so I'm gonna try to tank its reviews.
Well, it's right. There's those little battles going on too, for sure. And then there's aggregate Rotten Tomatoes. That's changed movies dramatically.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because the way Rotten Tomatoes rates things is terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Thumbs up or thumbs down. That's the point system there. And movies, just stories, theater, books, art of any kind isn't a thumbs down, up, thumbs down thing. It's not 10 stars or 1 star. It's all the stars in between. It's your personal experience. It's the way you compare it to whatever. It's the mood you're in that afternoon. There's all these qualifiers and all these cool, nuanced ways to think about even the most basic, simple bits of entertainment in our lives.
Yeah.
And those nuances are getting lost too because of streaming. But you can't really beat just, clicking on the remote, clicking on your phone, and having that movie just pop right on.
Right.
What did I say? I'm watching Ghost Rider 2 on my Apple Watch 3.
Yep, my Apple Watch 3.
That is magic, We used to dream about that stuff.
So, where do we go from here? What happens? What happens next? Where is home video going in the future? Where I could look to find some information on that?
Where could you look?
I could, real quick, check with the Tickertainment Trend Tracker.
Bye! Sell. Bye! Sell.
All right, so I just want a quick fly through.
Bye.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God, how did I forget that we were gonna go? Bye. I want to fly through some of these real quick here. These are some of the trends that are happening with the home video systems coming down the pike. Multiple screens. Having multiple screens so you can have multiple things playing at one time in your home.
Sell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm selling hard on that. What?
Yeah.
I have multiple screens. I'm sitting here in front of one little screen, and across away from me is a big screen.
We have a big screen. You have a screen. I have a screen in my hand and a screen on my lap.
So
Yeah.
I don't. It's not innovative.
Sure.
That's reality.
Yeah, it's just putting it all up on a wall. It's essentially like having that newsroom feel where you can have multiple. I mean, obviously, in a sporting
Elvis had 3
sense,
screens in front of him. If you ever taken the Graceland tour,
That's true.
He had all networks playing at the same time, so he'd never miss whatever he was most interested in. Mm-hmm. But no, you can pay attention to more than one screen, but your storytelling is never going to be useful in that way. I don't think a movie being presented in that way feels like a gimmick at best.
Yep. Another thing that is we've started to see it already is the integration of social networking in your movie watching experience.
Bye!
I don't really want to buy that. I'm probably too old and curmudgeonly to get into too much social networking.
Right.
But kids have their phones in front of their faces and they interact that way. So I'm gonna go along to get along a little bit with that. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
They're even in live theater where pulling out a phone is like the most rude thing you can do imaginable.
Yep.
They're starting to have these special shows where you can.
They used to have. I mean, no theater in the Twin Cities, I think, has done it for a couple of years, but they used to have tweet performances, and the Twitter section where you could live.
Could
tweet.
you record people with your phone?
No, still can't do that because that's a violation of union rules.
I get it, but the point is that phone's a tool that does all this stuff. Once you bring it into the picture, it creates some inherent problems. But at the same time, while I can't really imagine it for myself, I can imagine people wanting to be on their phones while they're watching movies and I can imagine people like not wanting to be in a room full of phones during movies. I would hate that. It just ruins the immersiveness of it.
Yep.
You're aware of. It's fun to be aware of the emotions of the people around you. It's something you feel and whatever. But just being aware of whatever they're doing on their phone, that's a totally different deal. But I can see shows of that happening, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think what's coming down is in streaming services as you're watching them on your TV, using having immediate integration with either your phone or the remote of your TV, being able to to connect on social media. So it's like if you're in Cleveland watching the Bourne Supremacy, you could click on a button on your remote, it pings on my phone, and then I can hit a button, and then we're watching it, and I'm in Los Angeles or whatever, and we're watching the movie together at the same time, so we can be talking. I think
can see people doing that. That was an innovation of Blu-ray to a certain degree. There was these Java things that would take you to the internet, and these menus would come up on your TV, and you could literally share the experiences, with other people, and you could, it didn't really take off at all in that format.
Yeah.
So I don't see it, again, being like a new way we watch movies necessarily, but an added way to connect with other people over things, yes. I mean, and in that way I'm going to buy on it because I think those connections are kind of cool.
It's the same way that you can play a RPG game on Xbox with different people.
There's another person somewhere doing that, and that's hardly human contact. I get that we're still messing around on our phones or playing with the PlayStation or whatever, but it is. There's still there's some stuff.
Yeah,
there's teamwork sometimes involved, competition. There's stuff that's valuable little things in life to get from that. So I'm buying just not for myself, but I'm buying for humanity on that to some degree.
Two more that the Tickertainment Trend Tracker spitting out on me. This one I think you're gonna appreciate.
Yeah.
there has been a movement back towards floor standing and separate audio systems as opposed to integrating it into the wall structure.
Bye!
In theaters or in
your home theater, because people were building these home cinemas with the tiered seating, and they were putting the speakers in the walls.
If you can afford to redesign a room, every 3 years or something, then you can do whatever you want. If you can really afford to build an actual theater in your house, then good job. You've been doing, you've earned a lot. That's awesome. And a home theater is not a bad way, in my opinion, to spend the money. But what I have, it's ready to move at a moment's notice, even though it's big and hefty. These are freestanding things, and part of the reason why that has value and why I believe it's architecturally and design sound is because everything's changing all the time. Why would you want to design your living room necessarily to encapsulate all this electronic and stuff when nothing changes faster technology-wise than electronics?
Yeah.
So, the little nooks that they build in the walls, all that. I mean, when you walk into a house that's really doing that right with a designer house, then great. But those people they can redo all that. And, they can have the designers out and they can change the carpet and they can do whatever they want all the time. I don't recommend that for people. So did I do the...
Bye!
Yes,
on
did.
that? Because you really, really... You want to be able to move and improve on home theater stuff if you're still into it at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, keep it mobile, keep it flexible.
One final one that it's spitting out in here. Home video lighting. Now this is there are lighting systems now that you can have programmed so that as the lighting changes within the movie, the lighting in your room changes accordingly.
No, they had those TVs, remember, with the weird backlight LEDs. That, no.
Yeah, and
theater lighting. I mean, he saw it. I had my finger on the buy button. Did you see?
That's why I jumped in with the explanation of this.
Theater lighting is great. You should have your favorite theater lighting. I've got some white Christmas lights around my big window on one side of my apartment. I got a candle on the other. They both glow warm. They both don't interfere with the movie. But there's light in here. I'm not just sitting in a dark room that's only illuminated by the movie. I highly recommend everybody, even if you really like watching movies in the dark, embrace the home aspect of it. I'm not a huge home theater fan. I think even if I was like home theater, they're theaters already. They're theaters already. And I can't see myself going to the theater in my own home. Maybe, every once in a blue moon. But mostly my living space would be where my TV would be because that's where I spend my time. That's, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't want it to feel like a formal theater. I want it to feel like a living room.
Right.
I want my theater gear to be equipped fully in when the movie comes on. I want it to take over the place. But I actually, for somebody who loves home theater as much as I do, the home theater with a capital T, I don't know. I admire it, but I'm less enthusiastic about that. So that goes back with the last note. Keep it mobile, but the lighting in the room changing with the movie. Would you want that to happen in a theater? Because we've had that technology already forever. They don't do it because it's stupid. Yeah. So
sell
on that one.
Great. Okay. So that is our little trip into the evolution of home video, the home video evolution, as I'm calling it, instead of the...
You guys lived through all that. I mean, I know we're not spreading too many revelations, but hopefully some of our anecdotes were fun, and because it's interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit more about content on the show going forward, and this was sort of our launch into doing that from time to time.
Yeah,
to really look at how it's evolved through the years and how we get that content, how that's always changing.
Yep, we're going to look at things.
And nothing demonstrates that more than just looking at how it's changed in your own lifetime.
Yeah,
dramatically.
So we're going to look at we touch upon new releases that come out. We're going to be trying to talk a little bit more about things that we're looking forward to, not just in movie theaters, but also being able to watch in our own homes. And and of course, if there's a particular movie that you cannot wait to have come out onto Blu-ray, if there is a particular trend that you're seeing in movies, even movies that you're watching in your home, please reach out to us, talk to us, let us know how you're feeling about watching movies in your own home. And of course,
and as a challenge, maybe sit there every once in a while and instead of surfing the sort of content providers, go searching for a few of your favorite things. See if there's one that you really can't get access to. I think that's a worthy exercise. You know, go Google, hey, who carries this? Who has this? Go look and see what the DVD costs now.
I just went through this with From the Earth to the Moon.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. That's a great example, right?
Yeah.
From the Earth to the Moon, if you have HBO Go, I think you just pull that one right up.
Nope.
HBO doesn't even
not
have
on
it.
HBO Go.
Really?
No, it's not.
I'm surprised it's not on HBO.
Believe me, so was I.
Well,
I went to watch it and I'm assuming I can watch this on HBO Go with my HBO Go subscription.
From Earth to the Moon.
Yeah.
I love that such a cool thing is so unavailable.
Yeah.
I just to point out that you're maybe you don't, we have friends who never watch the same thing again. They don't see the point. The point is the story, and that's cool.
Yeah.
They told the story, now that story's over. I'm going to watch that story again. I'm going to watch some new story that I don't know how it ends.
Yeah.
But if you got a favorite, if it's From Earth to the Moon, Joel says I own that over here on DVD. It looks okay, but I don't watch it.
The upplay on it is okay. With playing a DVD on a Blu-ray player,
right.
It looks okay. That's the reason why it hasn't been released on Blu-ray, is because
it's good enough.
Well, they would have to go back and redo all the digital effects.
Because even though they shot it in widescreen, and even though they only rendered the effects at old school TV resolution.
Correct, and that's what is preventing it.
But that's no reason not to have it on demand. But I guess because it would look goofy is why they don't. They don't want the complaints.
Yeah. Or whatever. Or maybe the filmmakers or the producers don't want it out there because of that.
Hey, Joel.
Yeah.
Thanks for proving my point for me, man. That was an awesome anecdote. We better check out of here, huh?
I think we probably should. We have taken up a lot of your time.
Yep, but we love you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for joining us for another week on The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. We will catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. Remember, all views and opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the speaker and do not represent those people, institutions, or organizations that the speaker may or may not be associated with, unless explicitly stated. None of these views and opinions were intended to malign or deceive. And now, here's the producers, circa 1982, to play us out.
With Movies and More, the best seat in the house is right in your own living room. If you thought you had to spend a fortune to see the latest blockbusters, think again. Movies and More gives you Hollywood's best for the price of a popcorn alone. Need a TV, camcorder, or VCR? Call Movies and More. Get a free lifetime movie club membership just by buying a new VCR from us. Movies and More, New England's largest video store. There's one near you. Check your yellow pages. Movies and More, with the best seat in the house.